Hey, hi everybody. Welcome to this week of the Soul Purpose live stream. Soul Purpose live stream. And every single week on Tuesday evening, time has been shifted a little, but I'm doing this in the evening Pacific Standard Time. Today, I'm tuning in at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. And I come on here in the Soul Purpose group to help all of us remind ourselves the sole purpose, right? And if you are in this group, you have been exposed to different ideas around conscious manifestation, just like we did a training last week. It was last week? No, a week before, actually. The replay was extended until the end of Sunday. And we have been exploring different ideas, right, that allows us to express our soul's purpose. The reason that I title this group Soul Purpose Group is because I think, people have different areas in their life to sort of experience happiness, freedom, and love and peace, which I hear very often what people are seeking. Yeah. There are people who are really goal-oriented, who define the success through achievement, right? It could be a financial, I hear very often the term financial freedom, right? There are other people's type of people who are seeking health because of the lack thereof, or if you are somebody who is experiencing some sort of miserable or unexpected relationship stuff, right? I hear very often people attracting narcissistic people, or people who feel like, their family is not on the same page, it's not allowing them to express themselves fully, right? Whatever you're in the right place if you're open to this idea of waking up into the essence of who we are. So today, coming around the ending of the training that I did last week. And every single week, I am here showing up on the Tuesday live call to remind all of us what's important. Yeah. I feel like when I observe and witness people the way that they're living, there's a certain sense of conformity or a set of belief that is dictating the way that they are living. Yeah. And I'm not saying that life doesn't have any challenge, right? In fact, life causes us to realize what we don't want because we live in this realm of relative, right? There's not going to be things that are painful or challenging, right? Although pain and challenge is a perception, right? So when we rise above the life, looking at life from a human animal perspective, and when we understand that life on earth in the physical plane is a reflection of our spiritual essence, and not as an idea, but an embodiment of this idea. And I'm going to talk about what the difference is, because whether you're new to this idea of spirituality or manifestation, or if you have been exposed to and practicing this idea, there is a further depth in a way that we can embody. Yeah. It's one thing to understand and know that information. It's a completely different things to live on and live it. Yeah. This group specifically is not too much for those who are new to this idea. This group is for those who have been practicing, who are not experiencing the shift in their life because of the maybe overconsumption of the idea, but lack of embodiment, or a lack of attention and consistent attention, focus attention to the feeling of the desire, right? A focus attention, consistent focus attention to the feeling of desire. There are a lot of people that I witnessed that love this idea of manifesting the life of their desire, and they go back to their habitual default state. They go back to getting absorbed by the environment. So a couple of things that I want to do today, though. If you are looking at your life, focusing on the outside world, you're never going to be able to be the creator of it, because the outside world is an effect and reflection of your inside becoming. The insight becoming consists of your belief, the patterns of thoughts that you think, and the dominant feeling emotions that you're living moment to moment, right? So that needs to be the attention and the drivers to be able to reflect and generate the outside as a result of your inside. So if your focus is on the outside, it's a natural tendency for us to react to it, right? But if you know that your outside is a reflection of your inside, you start committing and dedicating yourself to focus and begin nurturing and creating your inside energy. Now, what that really means is that we need to gain a skill set of discerning. Taking what's serving us means that if you're living life with, sunshine or nice view or great environment, relationship, and interaction, we want to feed those energy to feel expansive. However, if you're coming across contrast, things that gives you a sense of resistance, for instance, rude somebody or some situation happens in your family or work or a certain consequence that gives you a sense of worry and doubt, right? Those situations that might cause you to go into a destructive emotions. Those destructive emotions are emotions, energy emotion that is based on fear. We don't want to entertain them, right? And I think this one piece might be the most challenging thing for a lot of us, right? People who believe in the idea of conscious manifestation, not many of us are trained in how to relate with contrast in the 3D world. Now, but let me tell you though, if you're not having the awareness to relate with the contrast in a spiritual way, and what I mean by spiritual way is that contrast, when we look at from a spiritual way, it just is, and then you want to seek the meaning of it, right? So if you are telling yourself, why is this happening for me? Why is this happening? Or why is this happening to me is the first thing that people think, right? And then people get stuck because the moment you entertain the words in your mind that tell yourself, why is this happening to me? Now you're not in control of it, right? So how that idea and you be the creator can coexist, it cannot coexist because you are letting your power you're letting something outside of you to overpower you. The moment you use the words, why this keep happening in my life, right? Notice that energy when we say that, which I hear very often. So I just want to give an example, right? That is a delegation or release of the power to something outside of you, and actually you are creating that. Yeah. Now, when I say that, you might be thinking, well, how do I own my power when I'm in this situation, right? Now, I mean, as much as you might not want to hear this, every situation that you're in, you created it based on the energy that you're in, right? Now, if you have an exception or something that you want to bring that up, you can comment on the chat. So you can explain how that might have happened in your life. Because if the universal causal law, a law of cause and effect is happening all the time, which is no different from law of gravity, universal law of cause and effect, law of attraction, law of perpetual transmutation of energy is a mental law that is happening all the time, no matter whether you're aware of it or not, right? So outside experience and outside result and consequence not reflecting your inside is impossible. It's impossible. The outside will mirror, like it's almost like saying that you're standing in front of the mirror and you do this kind of funny face, and then the mirror is looking at you angry, right? It doesn't work that way, right? Because it reflects. Reflection means that it does exactly the same thing responding to your expression. So life event, circumstance, consequence that you experience is due to your inner climate, inner environment that you are creating, and the outside is a reflection. Can we really get this, right? Reflection means that your expression, energy of expression inside is reflecting in the outside. And I guess I was talking on the call an hour ago. I think people start going to this idea of, I mean, how can this happen in my life, right? Now, the how is not your business. That's why people don't understand. That's why people feel like, many people who believe in law of attraction have a great heart, right? And people have a good intention. And they don't know how they created the current existing situation that they're in because that wasn't their intention. But here's the thing though, like for instance, if you're in law of attraction, you probably know that you never attract what you want because as long as you're wanting something, you're demonstrating the energy of lack thereof, right? Now, are we aware of that in every single area in our life? It means that you might be seeking and wanting love and peace. But what that means is that if you're wanting love and peace, it means that the message in the subconscious is sending out to the universe. That's just a way to explain it, right? Sending out to the universe that you are not one. So you want that thing that you are not acknowledging and accepting inside in the outside. Now, when you want something in the outside, you will never get it because the universal law of attraction responds to your subconscious energy, which is the absence of what you're not having as long as you're wanting it. Let me say that again. The universal law of attraction responds to your subconscious energy, yeah? And then it's, as long as you're wanting something to happen in the physical realm, it's going to continue to respond to the absence of that which you want as long as you're wanting something. So the simple process of this is, okay, life causes us to realize what you don't want, right? Or this is painful, this is not fun. The lack of money doesn't give you a freedom. Destructive or chaotic relationship with somebody doesn't make you feel expansive. Ill health or injury is convenient and doesn't make you feel freely moving. So those contrasts allows us to realize and recognize the opposite of it, which is what you do want. What you do want is an abundant stream of happening through the circulation of money, right? What we want is a meaningful, expansive relationship that has a deeper connection, right? What we want is a vitality and energetic body and ability to move freely. Once you want that, you want to accept that, that is already you in the subconscious mind, because as long as you're wanting that, you're demonstrating the lack thereof. But if you assume that that's already yours, and that is you are the embodiment of the thing that you desire, which requires a little bit of practice, right? Now the universe responds to the energetic resonance in your subconscious, and you will start circulating. So it sounds very easy if I explain this here, right? Now, it is easy as long as you believe that is so. So let's step back a little bit. Where are we at in our life, right? What is it that we're seeking more of, right? What is the reason that you joined this group? I mean, I might have invited you, but if you didn't have a curiosity and interest, you wouldn't have joined it, right? What is in your, sometimes people try to, sometimes people try to hide what they do not have, right? Because in the conscious manifestation space, people want to assume that they have it, right? But it's that by acknowledging that, right? Now, assuming on the surface space or convincing that you already have is a completely different thing. So let's just identify what is it that, where you are right now and the distance and the gap between your life of your desire and where you're at right now. What is the distance and the gap between the life you desire? I'm just gonna tune in via my phone to see if there's, okay, right? And I guess some people are tuning in, right? So what is the gap between the life of your desire and where you are right now? Yeah. And then when you see the thing that you're not having in the outside, what we want to do is to turn your arrow inside. Who do I need to become differently in order to manifest and reflect that in the outside? That's what you want to identify, right? And then once that happens, we want to focus on the inside, because once that gets identified clearly, what happens to most people is that they stay connected with the outside and they keep focusing on the absence of it. They keep focusing on the absence of it, right? So let me say that again. Once you identify the gap between the desired life and where you're at right now, the next thing that you want to do is to turn your arrow inside and ask, what is the becoming in my inside that needs to shift in order for the outside to reflect? And then we stop focusing on the outside, because if you focus on the outside, your mind will be entertained by the lack thereof. But if you truly believe that when you're becoming inside when the becoming inside shift and that inside reflect in the outside, inevitably by universal law, you only need to focus on the inside. Yeah. So that's sort of like a basic universal law of attraction, right? Let me talk a little bit about because kind of we're circling back and coming back to the Satori mind, right? The soul purpose group here, we are a group of people, and I kind of like to say that we are a school, right? Educational entity to help all of us realizing the divine self in you. And I call that Satori mind. Satori in Japanese means awakening and realization. Yeah. And the title of this live stream today is I and Father are one. Yeah. And that sounds a little biblical, yeah, because I brought this from the Bible, right? Now, just let me tell you, I'm not really a Christian raised Japanese, right? Although I lived in 3 different continents, and I love a lot of things that the Bible talks about, right? I deeply admire the work of Jesus and Buddha as well, and I love Dalai Lama. I like Eckhart Tolle. I like Wayne Dyer. I love Neville Goddard. I love Florence Scovel Sin. I like, who else? Robert Russell. I like Ernest Holmes. I like a lot of people, but when we say I and Father are one, it means that the concept of myself and the essence of who I am, are one. Yeah. Let's dissect that a little bit. Angela, you like them as well. Great. They're all great. I saw a couple of people commenting, and I'm going to go back to see if there's any highlight that I want to make. But anyway, so I and Father are one. Yeah. Now, more and more, I'm realizing that that is actually what we are doing, right? Now, we have this program called Divine Self-Realization, right? Now, divine self-realization is to realize the divine self. Yeah. Now, realization is not the same as understanding. We talk about who are you, right? Now, notice that most people, when we ask who are you, they think about their work, they think about the role they're playing in life, in family, they think about their coworkers and friends. And those are masks that we're wearing in a social setting. Yeah. Who you are has nothing to do with any of those, right? Now, let me just give you an example, right? Because let's say, I don't know what stage in your life you're in, right? Because I actually don't know the minimum age in this group and the maximum age in this group. But there is a global place, right? I do see here people from India, people from Japan, people from Europe, people from less South America, from Australia and Canada, United States, and different time zone, different cultural background, right? We have been exposed to different information and belief, but none of those things that we was surrounded by, including the clothes that you're wearing, right? Including the city that you might be living, including the job that you're currently doing, including the sense of self that you form when you are cooking or training. Like I'm doing cardio right now for the first time in my life. I always have a resistance to cardio because cardio is something that I just did automatically when I was a dancer, right? I wasn't going to a place with the intention of doing cardio, but I was doing that because that was necessary, right? But I'm doing something different right now. But anyway, there's a different identity based on what you're doing, where you're at, who you are surrounded by. Yeah. And notice that your identity might sort of consume your mind, assuming who you think you are, right? I mean, who you think you are is the concept in the mind. But the point is that who you are is none of those. So when Bible says, I and Father are one, it means that the role that you're playing in this world, right? The concept of yourself, how you see yourself in this world, right? If you're watching this, you're using a social media, you're being the audience, you might be a coach who are speaking, you might be a business owner, you might be somebody in the company that has a role, but you have this idea, the sense of self in your mind and the feeling in your body, how it feels to be you in this physical plane. That is a conception of you. That is an identity. Identity consists of your thinking patterns and feelings and emotions and belief. And that is not you. And the reason that is not you is because that is changeable. So let's say 10, 20 years ago, or for some people 30 years ago, or maybe 40 years ago even, right? You probably were a student without doing any work, right? Back then you had an identity called student. You had an identity called a child of your mother, brother, sister, worker as a part-time job, whatever, right? You had an identity that's different from right now. You might be in a profession right now, so you have a different identity. You might be retired, then you have a different identity, right? Now, what that really means is that the sense of who you are concept has been changing. Who you are never change. Who you are is the essence of I am. So I think I can't remember where I said this. I think it was in a training. Now, everybody in this group is seeking awakening, enlightenment. Yeah. Let me give you one marker. Like when you think of you, and when somebody asks you about yourself, and when you start feeling about you as I am, without any object after, right? You don't say I am Yuki, your name, because you're not your name, right? I am, what is it? Sole purpose coach, right? That is just a name and an identification. That is not you. Who are you, right? I am, that is who I am, what I just said, right? The silence is who we are, right? So if you start, notice that if you start doing that, you might feel, oh, I want to add something in there, right? The mind wants to add it, but the spirit doesn't care, right? Your mind wants to add the sense of self, who you can become. And the mind wants to protect your identity. That's called defense mechanism, right? When you feel like something outside of you, around you, is not meeting your value, you start feeling frustrated, or you start feeling agitated, right? Why is that? Because your defense mechanism, your ego wants to protect your value, the sense of who you are. And when you see something around you that is not congruent with that, you feel like, there's a voice that needs to be expressed, but that is not who you are. That is a identity, a sense of self in the mind that was constructed that is very fluid, dynamic, changeable. Yeah. So when the Bible said, I and the Father are one, it means that we must understand that the sense of identity and self-concept in the mind is fluid and dynamic, which also means that your thinking pattern and your belief is not fixed. And what that really means is that your identity and belief can be constructed however you want it to be. It means that you can believe whatever you choose to believe. And guess what? Your becoming inside that is based on the belief is always the cause of the outside, which how I started this conversation. And we are in this soul purpose group. Soul purpose group is a group that help all of us to express our soul's purpose. Now, in a general term, the purpose of the soul, we are all have the same purpose. We're here to awaken our unique gift, which you can only find yourself. Nobody else can find your uniqueness. You kind of feel into it, right? And in order to do that, we want to kind of remove our expectation around what you want others to think of you. And then what we want to do is using and expressing that as a vehicle to touch others, to awaken others' gift. That's the only purpose there is. There's nothing else. Other animals have different purpose, but humans who are having a little more ability to create our own environment, that's about practice world, right? Because we can form our image in our mind to create anything we desire. We have an ability to impact others a little bit differently from other animals. We can create more of what we want, that we can manifest the desire of our dream. And I'm not saying this term in a light way, right? We're here to dream, to formulate the life that we desire in our hearts, that we can visualize in our mind. And I really feel like this group can be a place to influence and impact one another, to encourage people to live there all the time without getting caught up with the outside environment, right? Now, let's come back to I and Father are one. So in this context, I means the concept of myself, yeah? And the Father is the greater I am. Usually in Bible, Father means God, right? Now, God is not a Santa Claus, right? God is not the human that live up in the heaven, right? Heaven is in your mind. The kingdom of heaven is in the mind. What is kingdom of heaven? Kingdom of heaven is a realization of, so when the I and the Father become one, we form a kingdom of heaven, first of all, right? Now, so who is the I and who is the Father, right? And Father is God, right? Now, who is God, right? God is I amness of who we are, right? So it means that when we say I am, that is who we are. And when you start saying I am something and begin adding the concept, that is a concept in your mind that you're constructing, but the I amness is not an idea. Yeah, stay with me. I don't want to lose you here. I amness is not an idea. Idea is a picture in the mind. You are not a picture in the mind. You are an essence that I am that exists. A good way to tap into that is when you meditate and when you deeply go into a very silent place, you feel one, yeah? You feel this expansive feeling that you're connected and not separate from anything else. That is the I amness of who you are. That feeling and the expansiveness is who you are. Who you are is not your body. Who you are is not the concept in your mind. When you meditate and become one, I'm not going to say one with anything, right? When you become one, when you enter into that oneness, that is the feeling and the essence of you and I. That is the I amness. That is God to me. That is Father. So I and Father are one. The concept of myself and God are one. It means that the individual mind, the concept, the role that we play, and that expansion of the feeling of I am married and become one, that is what the Bible talks about, I and Father are one. And when you experience that, you are in kingdom of heaven on earth, not up there or not over there, but right here in this moment. Yeah. Can you see how this is not a rational thing? If you kind of lean into it and pay attention to the energy and tonality when I was explaining, you probably went there with me. Like when I was explaining, this is so fun because when I experienced that, right? When you meditate and when you begin observing your inner body's experience, and when you begin removing all the separation between you and the rest of the world, because you are not your body, don't think anything, you are not the mind, then you become one. That I amness is God. That I amness is the essence of who you are. That feeling of, as I explained this, I'm there right now. And if you are leaning into my energy, you are probably right there right now, right? That feeling is where we want to stay. And then the concept in your mind, such as your thinking, let's just focus on the thinking, right? What are the types of thoughts that you choose on a moment to moment that allows you to enter into this feeling of expansion, right? So in a simple term, we use the term positive thoughts and negative thoughts, right? Now, whenever we feel negative thoughts, we never feel expansive. It's just not the quality of it, right? Whenever we experience negative thoughts, we feel contracted and resisting, right? So when we are entertaining negative thoughts, I and Father can never be one. Actually, entertaining of the negative thoughts demonstrate the separation from Father. And then we move away from the oneness of who we are. Yeah. Now, when you choose a happy, expansive, positive thoughts, you feel good, you feel expansive, you feel lighter, right? That's what you want to choose. What about emotion, right? People wants to feel joy, being joy. People wants to engage in uplifting environment. You know, nobody wants to be in a negative energy. People wants to feel connected, right? When you are in that emotion, your mind, the concept of you and the feeling that follows that is demonstrating, meeting the quality of that I amness. Belief, people have these confident issues and limiting belief about themselves. You can kind of look at what you're focusing on in your life. It could be business, it could be marriage. A lot of people have marriage issue. It could be a health challenge, right? What is the belief around it? Are you choosing a belief that holds you back based on your past, present experience? Or are you choosing rising above your past, present belief and choosing the belief that aligns with the expansion of the essence. Choosing of the belief that aligns with the expansion of the essence is your concept and your essence merging. Yeah. Oh, Queen Nadine is here. Yeah. I saw something commenting. I'm gonna get back to that, right? I'm really getting into my zone right now, and I'm ignoring everybody's comment. I'm gonna come back to this comment in a moment, everybody. Yeah. So I and a father are one means to practice our mind to align with the essence of who we are. Align with the essence of who we are. And any limiting belief that you might have, any negative thoughts that you might be habitually entertaining, is a habit, is default state, the past present habit. And we have experienced who we are now based on our surrounding and a little genetic programming, but that is there for us to realize that we don't want that. So we can practice to become aligned with the essence of who we are, to demonstrate that I and Father are one. Yeah. So that is what Satori mind means. Satori means to awaken and realize the mind. And divine self-realization means to realize the divine self, right? Divine self is a version of you you're becoming in your mind, the conception of you in this physical realm that is congruent with that experience feeling of I amness. When you meditate and when you go into silence and stillness, you feel absolutely free because you're connected with the whole and there's no any separation. That is our home. That is our true home. I don't know where you're living, but the physical location is never your true home. You can be in an absolute whatever place and feel not home, right? So it's really important for us to really live in our true home, which is the expansion, which is the state of being. And when we master living there and coming from that place moment to moment, it doesn't really matter what's happening in the outside because that is just they are. And you're so grounded into, rooted into the essence of who we are, and you're practicing constantly to nurture your becoming, to awaken the divine self in you. Yeah, awaken the divine self in you. So, you know what? Let me. I don't know how to look at the comments. I think there's a lot of comments in here. Okay, let me just kind of check a little bit of comment. Okay, Angela is here. Well, this is okay. Sometimes I feel myself wanting to dwell in the sadness, wanting to cry. I mean, crying is not bad. Wanting to experience gray clouds when they come, like yesterday, I felt. You know what? Based on this statement, though, Angela, what I feel is that there is a room in shifting your subconscious. Like if you feel like sometimes you want to dwell into the sadness, there is an underlying assumption at the subconscious level of a little not good enoughness. And we want to address that. So we'll talk more. Sharon, I'm in a position that represent everything. Yes, I am not, okay? But that's good. So you want to embrace where you're at right now. So you're discovering where you don't want to be, Sharon, and that is the contrast. But here's the thing though. When people are in a place of where they don't want to be, what immediately people do because of the animal instinct is to focus on that and focusing on the idea of not wanting it, right? Not wanting it will never take us away from removing from it, but identifying that situation, even though it's happening in your real life, that's perfect because you're experiencing it, right? But go to your paper, right? Because I like to encourage people to work on paper because when you are just entertaining things in the mind of the life that you desire, sometimes it's abstract But by putting on paper, you're moving your 4D psycho-emotional plane into a visible physical form. You might have not manifested in the physical yet, but you can manifest in your writing. I mean, what if that's true though? What if you can think and feel, and if you can write down on paper? Because if you write on paper, that is a physical form, right? Anybody can write on paper what they want. What if that action be the precursor or actually manifesting in the physical form? So at least do that, right? You shall find me when you feel after me. Perfect. Queen Nadine is all in. Diane, I definitely feel myself shrinking when I feel negative emotions and have negative thoughts. Okay, so often though, this is good because sometimes people try to grasp the mind, right? But when we start learning how to observe the sensation in the body, right? The mind can observe the body, right? And then often the mind and the body are two-way street. So people are lost in this bubble of staying in the negative thinking pattern. And why that is because the body is there, right? You cannot think something positive if the body is feeling contracted. An example, if you're in pain, it's difficult to think uplifting thoughts, right? You want to address the pain. So it works hand in hand, right? If you're thinking negative thoughts, you begin moving your body to a contracted state. And for me, interesting, I found Mike Chen talking about the same thing. I don't know if you know Mike Chen. Maybe men who are watching this might be aware. Mike Chen, I'm just going to talk, I wasn't going to talk about him at all, but Mike Chen was somebody who was very popular. What's right now, 2023, maybe 8 to 10 years ago on YouTube, having this series called sixpackshortcuts.com. It's not like I was interested in getting my six pack, but I was watching him because I really liked the way that he was engaging with audience, right? And he disappeared out of nowhere. Maybe it's not like I was following him religiously, but I felt like I lost track. And then recently I discovered him. But here's what happened though. He was very successful in creating a group of, followers, right? YouTube. And the main thing was sixpackshortcuts.com, right? And then he said that he actually let go all of that. And then he was called to something else. And he now lives in Bali. He now lives in Bali and he is back in the scene as I think he calls himself mind, body, emotion coach. And he realized that everything that he was doing to be successful, everything that he was doing to create followers was about feeding the ego, feeding. So this is a good example that somebody like him who was successful realized that he was so empty. He was so empty. He was trying to get his body right, and he was trying to impact other people to create happiness in his life. And he realized one day that none of the things did anything that he was seeking inside, but something happened in his life. And then suddenly he felt so happy without the external environment changing at all. And then he started to be curious about what is this that I just experienced? And then probably what he experienced was this oneness with all, right? That he removed all the resistance and limiting thoughts and emotion beliefs inside. That's what happened. But then because he's a committed practitioner to elevate his life, he wanted to stop everything that he was doing, and he followed his intuition and moved to Bali, and he still lives in Bali, and he sort of rebranded himself and came back in the scene as a mind, body, emotion coach. And he was talking about this, right? I was so happy that he was talking about this. He said that one of the things that he discovered that is very vital is that people often try to change the mind, right? Including the emotions and the thoughts without addressing the physical body sensation. But physical body sensation sometimes get trapped. And unless we know how to shift that, the mind reflects what the body is feeling. Yeah. So the mind body is two-way street. So often in manifestation, we talk about in order to change the feeling, change your thought, it's not that simple. Yeah. The body's feeling also reflect back to the mind to cause us to think thoughts repetitively. That's why many people are stuck in the repetitive mode because they haven't addressed the feeling, how to change the sensation in the body differently, because sometimes that bubbles up to cause us to think thoughts the way that we have been thinking. So the sensation of the body is essential in shifting our identity. So that's what sort of came up in my mind, Diane, when I was looking at your comment. The kingdom of heaven is within you and within you as well, and within you and you and you. Great. Okay, that's all comments I see. So I and Father are one, yeah, and we are practicing that. This whole purpose group is a place to practice to integrate the concept of yourself and the essence of who you are, I amness, because that is the only reason and way that you can fulfill your life fully. That is the only reason in the way that you can fulfill your life fully. Yeah. And then when we come from that place and do things that we desire, you can express and then change the outside world. Now you can change the outside world by changing your belief and changing the frequency. But if the alignment of the self and the soul is not there, you will forever feel something missing, just like Mike Chen discover. I'm so glad that he realized it, right? So you don't want to go after the success in the outside. You don't want to just kind of dive into your inside and spiritually awaken without reflecting the concept of yourself in the outside. As long as you're living in the physical world, you want to unite the two, which is I and Father are one, to create a kingdom of heaven in you right now at this moment. So that is all I have today. And as I always do, now, if you are somebody who are wanting to go dive deeper into this practice, just comment one. Yeah. If you want to create an experience that you can stay in the oneness of all the time and begin nurturing the concept of you in your mind from that place, to demonstrate that I and Father are one, to demonstrate the concept of yourself, to align with the essence of who you are, comment below one without number one. It could be number one, but it could be O-N-E, the oneness one, and we'll get in touch. And it requires a little bit of commitment and dedication and the willingness to let go of your own way. Yeah, because anything that you're experiencing right now is based on the way that you have been operating. And in order to become somebody, we need to unbecome the way that we have been operating. So that is everybody. Let me know if you have any questions, and that is it. How much commitment? We'll talk about that. Like, how much commitment is an interesting question. How much commitment? How do you want me to answer that? Like this? Like I and Father are one commitment. That's what's necessary. I don't know about you. I'm at the place where this is the most important thing for me to express and living, right? So the most commitment that you can give, we give the most and the best, right? I mean, I'm just saying that this is not, I don't think this is something that you can just change watching YouTube or reading one video or reading one book or watching one video. That's what I meant, right? You need a consistency and dedication. And we are here to help you do that. So if you're interested in demonstrating that I and Father are one, comment one below and we will get in touch. Okay, that is it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching.